What's good, family? What's good, family? What's good, family? Hope all is well. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the MySpace Effect Building Influence and Impact. Yeah. I just want to tell everybody thank you that reached out and shared their story and much more to support all of it, because this is a leadership podcast that is meant to influence and have positive impact. And I was taken aback at the overwhelming, not only story shared, but the desire to want to be better leaders in navigating through people's own particular journey. It's a lot of people out there that's hurting, suffering in silence, and are just in need of help. My desire for this podcast is not to be concerned about what solely is popular, more so than what is principled. I shared last week, I'm a root guy. So, like, let's get past the surface level stuff. Let's get to the root, and then we can move forward in transformation. And so I am grateful that really helped a lot of people, because that is difficult. The end of a relationship, that's the whole purpose why I started this particular, seemed like this is a series now. But I wanted to do something different for us relationships, dealing with the end of one, moving into the beginning of one, because when you get to the worst of something, it can give you better understanding into when you walk into the new. That's really what I want to deal with tonight: how leaders move forward after endings and handling backlash, false narratives, and betrayal while stepping into new beginnings. Because we have to do something with all of this. I tell people often, I don't mind listening, or it's good to share your story. I wouldn't say share my truth. What I share is rooted in truth. That freedom is in there, and I'll talk about that more in a moment. But it's good to get it out. Confession brings possession. Now, what are we going to do with all of this? And that is really what's key in navigating through the end of something. Whether it's divorce, broken covenants, dealing with backlash, beginnings, and leadership journey. So it's going to be dope. I shouldn't be as long as I was last week, but it's going to be pretty good. So yeah, let's get it.
Welcome to my space. You did not have to come by.
2 weeks ago, I started out talking about divorce, broken covenant, the pain of endings. Last week, I talked about when you didn't want the divorce. That's right. Lessons of loss, surrender, and resilience. But this week, I'm talking about what happens after the dust settles. But I want to share something about the reality of backlash. It's inevitable. Backlash is always inevitable. Anytime the dust settles from a divorce, the end of a relationship, a broken covenant of sorts, whether it's marriage, business, backlash is always inevitable. At the end of the day, it comes down to how we respond to it, because truth provokes resistance. Yeah, you get that pot going. And see, when leaders move on, people tied to the past often react. Yeah, they'll react. It's either out of guilt, shame, jealousy, or in some aspect, fear of being exposed. And anytime you get that type of backlash, you have to remember is that it's only confirmation that you're on the right track. It's not evidence that you should run and retreat. Yeah, you shouldn't do that, because false narratives, smear campaigns will rise when you move on. Yeah, if they don't kill you and kill you off, when you begin to move on in life, oh man, them false narrative, especially if you deal with a narcissist, they always have a preemptive strike. They got to control the narrative, because truth provokes resistance. That's what it does. It provokes resistance. It doesn't just end relationships. It stirs resistance. Ultimately, what I'm saying is backlash is proof of a breakthrough. That's what it is. Not evidence of failure. That is why even when I was going through initially with my divorce, separation that led up to divorce, even after attempt to try to reconcile, it was a lot that came out. It was a lot that came out. I mean, interviews, everything possible to try to create this false narrative and smear campaign. And I had to sit back and just take it. Lies, they always circulate after broken covenants. Always. But the lesson, one of the lessons in it is you have to have discernment, patience, and allow the truth to unfold in God's timing. That's what you have to do. Because see, lies are weapons, but truth has longevity. Huh? I know somebody likes that. Yeah. So when it comes to the leadership position or the leadership lesson, if you will, you have to resist the urge to fight every rumor. Integrity plus time is vindication. Yeah. Integrity plus time is vindication, because vindication doesn't come from defending yourself. It comes from walking in integrity long enough for lies to collapse. And I'm grateful that the way I went about stuff preserved my character and integrity to where I can talk about this in a level of freedom, victory, and power simply because I'm standing in truth. It would have been easy to, as I shared in the last episode, I don't want to make this about mess. I don't want mess to kill the message and the leadership lessons. It would be easy for me to, and probably valid, to share things and give receipts on lies and smear campaigns and different things like that. But when you live in peace and you're in freedom, you don't have to do any of that. Because leaders, in order to have great influence and impact, leaders have to find a way to go beyond the typical. Because there's always an answer. You just have to find it. That's what makes leaders leaders. Because betrayal can be a great teacher. I know some of y'all looking at this phone like, you crazy. No, I'm serious. Betrayal can be a great teacher. It can. First of all, it shows the real between the fake. That's what it does. And then it shows areas of weakness that need strengthening. Another thing that betrayal does is that it reveals God's covering. That, and in my particular aspect, some of the things that I witnessed in my situation that led me to moving on in divorce that I had discerned, God had me covered. He had me covered. And I'm grateful for that. I know for sure for myself, I believe that if I were to respond in a way that the situation called for, it would have ruined my character and integrity, because I would have been introduced in a way that was in line with false narratives, lies, and intent don't negate impact. Sometimes you got to sit it out and be like, I'm going to sit this one out. I'm hurting. I'm paying. Folks lying. Stuff ain't right. But I got to sit it out, because if I get in the way, my character and integrity won't be preserved. And therefore, it won't be no vindication at all. It won't be in how you live. It won't be in the fruit. Here's the point that I'm making ultimately. Betrayal doesn't qualify you. It equips you. What does one do after the dust settles? What do you do? One thing I want to make clear is you just don't move on from divorce into new love. That don't happen. What you have to do is that you move from divorce by, number one, healing, obtaining wisdom from healing, and then therefore you can build a stronger foundation. How you rebuild as leaders, how you rebuild matters as much as what you rebuild. You can't rebuild with old tools or old mindsets. See, the steps in rebuilding, as I mentioned earlier, pertaining to healing. See, healing, it gives yourself space to grieve and process. That's what healing does. And then you'll learn boundaries from what you allowed before. As I was telling somebody the other day, you know, a lot of times when you go through a situation and you keep sticking around it, and it seems like you're not learning a lesson, what it reveals more about you than the other individual that you're connected to. And that takes responsibility, even in the pain, to be like, this may not be my fault ultimately, but I do bear some responsibilities in still dealing with this for this long or just in general. And that's when boundaries come. Then vision. You define the new future without dragging the old pain. So as a leader, how you rebuild sets the tone for those you lead. Yeah, you want to be whole. You want to be on that path of healing. Sometimes you don't know where you are until you find out where you are. And I'm a witness to that. I discovered that recently, that I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. And I'm good. I'm really good, because it's impossible for anybody to be able to talk about a subject like this and lack the ability, that is maturity and the discipline, not to make it messy. It takes a lot to just get like to the root and let's just extract lessons and talk about lessons versus the mess. Because there's a lot that I could share. And some would probably be like, you know what? Peter's is warranted. Hirsch is warranted. Put it out there. But that's not what I'm on. And I'm beyond that. See, mature leaders are beyond superficial, cyclical, immature, childish stuff. When you're moving in peace and you are in a place of peace and stuff is right, you good. Like, you really good. You unfazed, you unbothered. So when you compare being silent versus speaking, I want you to realize that there's wisdom in both. Sometimes silence protects. That's that season of hiddenness, if you will. Yeah, God is hiding you. You're being hidden for a little while. And then sometimes speaking truth liberates, a season of exposure. But both have wisdom and both require wisdom. The job of a leader is to know the difference, and then you have to discern God's timing with it. And that's important because it teaches you how to embrace the transition from survival to thriving. I talked about that a few episodes ago about just being resilient and surviving so much stuff, but not becoming. This is part of that. This is how you do that. This is how you take things that you survive, but you can actually thrive. You can do something. You can mature. You can really blossom from what you've been through. So what it looks like is you go from surviving backlash to setting boundaries, and then you thrive in purpose. That's what it looks like. But watch this. You got to build from truth, clarity, and spiritual maturity. You got to. Because all of these push you towards new beginnings, not just endings. Because in the midst of you embracing transition and into new opportunities and new connections and new maturities, you don't just bounce back per se, but you build forward. This is key. This is so key. You don't build by trying to prove your past wrong. Yeah. You don't need to be entangled with that. But you rebuild by living your future right. Character, integrity, timing, vindication. Integrity, timing, vindication. I'm going to say it again. Integrity, timing, vindication. So I really want you to understand this. Endings are classrooms. And backlash, hear this, is a test of focus. That's what it is. Sometimes silence is strategy, but ultimately, speaking truth is freedom. And that can be very tempting because there was some stuff I came into even after the fact. See, sometimes it's when you, during that time where you're patient and stuff, you'll come into some more things, truth, coupled with receipts and much more, that will have you like, you got to be kidding me. But here's the thing, as I shared, is that you don't rebuild by proving your past wrong, but by living your future right. Here's some keys. I want to give 4 keys and then I'm done. 4 keys and I'm done. When you get it backlash from speaking the truth, moving forward, and getting things together, however it may be, all it means is that you're shifting atmospheres. That's what that means. So number 2, don't chase narratives. Live in truth until lies collapse. Stand on it. 10 toes down. Stand on it. and protect your rebuilding season. Boundaries matters. You got to cut folks off, cut them off. Don't be concerned about what people think. Don't be no people pleasing. Sometimes that's one thing I had to learn going through all of this is how to get delivered from people, despite how people can be, so that I can be effective in helping people. Lastly, here it is. Lastly, you focus on beginnings, not just endings. Every ending makes space for something new. Every ending makes space for something new. So let me share something with you. Your past wasn't wasted. It was just a classroom. So you have to examine. When you examine your life, you have to ask yourself, am I getting C's, B's, A's? Flying colors? Am I excelling? Am I? Yeah. Talking about D's get degrees, what C's get degrees. But you want to maximize that classroom because this is your life at hand, you know, and especially in leadership, having influence and impact. Every ending refines you for greater beginnings. Every ending refines you for greater beginnings. So don't be afraid of the backlash. Don't. And don't be broken by betrayal. And don't stop, watch this, at endings. But begin again. Begin again. All of this requires handling it all with grace, like I shared before. When I dealt with my divorce and much more, that's a lot I could have said and done right then and there. It was a lot. It was very painful and really tough. And what I want to do is offer some type of strategy and wisdom to help not only speed up the process, not prematurely, but that's what wisdom does. Wisdom is from the future. Wisdom helps you for your future. It's immediate if you apply it properly and correctly. It's all about the application. All about the application. That's why timing is for our benefit. Some things in life won't be released to us in time until we can finally see and obtain a thing. Yeah. That's how it works. Just like when you go in grade school, you're not finna skip grades just because you may look mature. No, you got to be mature. You got to be able to pass these tests and do all of these things so that you're ready for what's next. And that's what leaders do. True leaders, when they hear this, when they get revelation, what makes leaders, I've shared it before, what makes leaders is those that move first. Because why? Revelation is the invitation into the transformation. That's all it is. And the quicker you can obtain something as a leader, process it and apply it maturely with the right attitude, oh man, you can go to the next level in no time. That's why some people that I know, and when I look at different situations, for people to be at certain ages in life, I've learned that aging is growing old, but maturity is growing up. And when your youth is a blunder, maturity will be a struggle, and old age will be a regret. It surely will. Pride would probably prevent you from believing that, but that's the truth. It is. And I'm grateful that I've been able to, extract and take lessons and wisdom from what I've gone through to be able to help you guys and help somebody else out. Backlash and much more, false and all that's inevitable. Like I said before, I know, and from my situation, I know a lot of people got relationships and stuff built on flat out lies. And it's bad. And I know even by me talking about this, it's posing a threat to those lies, and as what the Bible calls false imaginations. But integrity, time equals vindication. It's a lot of stuff I could have handled and still handle in the flesh. But again, integrity, time equals vindication. You don't rebuild by proving your past wrong. You rebuild by living your future right. Yeah, that's what you do. And that's the big picture of it all. That's the big picture of it all. So I hope this episode has been good. Hope it's really helped. And we'll see where we go from here. Y'all take it easy. Peace.